Cleaning up the export in Microsoft Excel. This is the part that right up front I want to be clear is not going to take you very long at all. I think one of the concerns people may have in going to the time and trouble of learning a product like PDF2XL is they might think it's faster to just manually key it or somehow do it themselves or without the software for that matter. I'm going to show you in this lesson how in, I believe it's under 5 minutes, we can get an entire statement cleaned up. And I want to be clear about this because you might be thinking, well, I've got a lot of transactions in my bank statement, so it's going to take longer in my case than what he's showing in the video. The answer is that's not correct because it really comes down to just the sections. How many different sections you have. You have that first and last page of the statement, and in between you might have some different sections such as my checks that cleared, my electronic transactions, and my deposits. So you might have 3 separate sections. It doesn't matter how many transactions are in each section. It really only matters how many sections there are that you want to get cleaned up in the Excel export so that you wind up with one sort of linear database of just the transactions, and whereas I'm going to show you in the video, you can establish a column describing what the type is. In other words, whether it's a check or an electronic transaction or some other such transaction type. So the point is, it's not going to take you very long once you get it into Excel to clean all this up. And as you're going to see further on in the course, once you have the template set up for how it gets exported for one particular bank type or one bank institution, then it's really fast to get subsequent statements done. So let's take a look and see what this looks like. So we've just converted a statement or one page of a statement from PDF to Excel, and we've got it into Excel. Now it's time to clean up the file. And what we're going to want to do is start defining what our main column headers are. So let's insert a row in the first line, and if you're having trouble following along with what I'm doing in Excel, we have a whole course on mastering Excel for accounting pros. The first several lessons of which go through all the navigation and a lot of the stuff I'm going to be doing here. So I am going to move quickly on the Excel part because that's not the primary focus of this course. So bear with me on that. So I've got a date, I've got an amount, and I'm really just kind of glancing at the columns that came in just the first section, right? Activity, let's call that description, and then we've got a reference number, okay? And don't worry about what's sticking out here because that's a repeat because in this paper deposit section, remember we have it sort of repeated. So now let's take care of that actually. We're going to insert a few lines and move that over. Anything that's sort of repeated like that because it's side by side on a statement, we just want to move over. And we're going to add in a column here all the way on the left, and we're going to call it type. And this is going to be electronic deposits, right? And actually, I just need this next to where there are actual transactions. That's the whole idea. So notice here where I have the actual transaction data. That's where I want that. And right here, this of course conforms to my main columns, and in order to make this stand out, let's just fill that in a little bit there. All right, so this way it's clear, and it always helps to split the to freeze the panes right at that spot. So once I know that I've got this section lined up properly column-wise, I can get rid of the extra header information that I kept. So here's paper deposits. I'm going to paste the value just on the lines where I have transactions. Then I'm going to confirm my date, my amount. These are reference numbers, so these need to get moved out over there. These needs to get moved out over there. All right, so now I can get rid of my extra rows with the information that I don't need anymore. And I find this really helpful to include the type section. Now we've got checks paid. So notice that's down here. So we're going to paste that in as a type. Now here our columns don't quite conform. I have a check number that I need to deal with, right? And my date is over here. And this is another one of those sections where I have to insert rows because I kind of repeat the section over here. So let's move that over to start with. And you want to do that first. Otherwise, you're going to end up having to do the same work twice. So now we need a space for the check number, right? And then we need to move the date back over here. So let's insert a column here and call it check number. That way we can move these guys over and mine the rows there, and then we'll bring the dates over where they need to be, which is back here. So then I've got my date, my check number, my amount, and my reference number. So now checks paid goes next to wherever I see an actual transaction, and everything else in between can be deleted. Starting to take shape. Let's see if I can resize these columns and get a little tighter result. Perfect. One more section, ATM, actually two more. So I'm going to copy my type for ATM down. I don't know why my mouse is skipping like that. It's being strange. But there we go. We'll paste values, and this already pretty well conforms. I know it does. I've done this a few times. But obviously you're going to stop and double check. So I've got my type in there, the date lines up, there's no check number, the amount, description, and reference number all line up. And then we have one more section, which is other withdrawals. I have one transaction in here. We're going to paste the type in there, and then pretty much I can get rid of everything. And now I can resize my columns again. And I got a reference number sticking out way out here, so let's fix that. And that's it, my friends. In under 5 minutes, while explaining the process, I was able to get that statement formatted for you. So let's just do sample export 2 on this. I always like to keep versions so I can get back. And that's it, my friends. So now you're good. Now you understand how to complete the process of getting a basic layout done and getting the export done and then cleaning it up in Excel. In the next lesson, we're going to actually look at fields and formatting options, and I will explain what that means in that lesson. Once again, make sure you're caught up with me. Make sure you can get here with a statement of your own, and then when you're ready to move on to the next lesson, I'll see you there. As you can see, the Excel cleanup process goes very quickly. And keep in mind that the time it took me was while I was actually going slow to explain it to you. So you can imagine if you're just focused on cleaning it up, it's going to go very quickly. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how to get PDF2XL up to the next level, so to speak, where we can start looking at how to change around some of those fields and setting up the template for different bank statements so that you can go even further with it, especially if we do run into those situations, which will be rare, but the situations where PDF2XL doesn't quite get the table right when you highlight the range.